Bitcoin has recently crashed, rejecting from 70k, and we need to talk about whether it's possible for a 40% retracement to occur. We saw a 20% retracement occur in 2020, 18% is what we saw in this cycle, and in the previous cycle we saw 29 to 40%. So we're going to be talking about what the likelihood of a 40% retracement is in today's video, and what's more likely actually in reality. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future, and let's dive right into it. So if we think about this weekly range, we broke out from here, failed to retest the range high as a new support, and now we're tapping the range low and trying to hold this range in general. With downside wicking, we saw an 18% pullback occur, but nonetheless maintaining this range, and it's all about trying to establish some stability around these highs as part of the last pre-halving retrace and one of the few bargain buying opportunities that we have left in the pre-halving period. This is the golden opportunity in the pre-halving period, but in general we have two golden opportunities still left, with this pre-halving period giving us an idea where is that major resistance in terms of the reaccumulation range high. Remember, we tend to see reaccumulation ranges form here, and this is the resistance, and this is the resistance in 2020. In 2016, this was the resistance that was really resisting price for multiple weeks. Same thing here, resisting price for multiple weeks, and this is probably what's happening right now. So we have had just recently a reveal of where that range high reaccumulation range is going to be, and it's around 70k. Now we need to find out where is the bottom of the reaccumulation range, right? We tend to see reaccumulation ranges form as we ascend, and even around the halving event itself, a range low is essential. Is it around here? Is it around here? We're trying to find that out as we progress in this pre-halving phase, because this pre-halving phase is supposed to give us a segue into the reaccumulation phase. So while we do see lots of volatility around the halving event and the pre-halving occurring, it's supposed to get us and transition us into sideways movement that is inevitably going to transition us into the parabolic phase of the cycle. So looking at 2016, the pre-halving retrace occurred, and once that occurred, we saw price move sideways in a reaccumulation range. So at this moment, we are around here, right? At this moment in the cycle where we've just rejected from the range high, we've seen 18% in our cycle right now. Could we see a bit more downside? Just generally trying to find the range low, because we do have the range high, it's 70k, right? We do have the range high. Where is the range low? Is it at the bottom of that 18% pullback that we saw a few weeks ago? It is possible, in which case this would be the reaccumulation range developing right here. And so if that is the case, we'd still see sinusoidal price action going into the halving and beyond for multiple weeks, because even after the halving, we tend to see sideways reaccumulation. Even after the halving, we tend to see sideways reaccumulation across cycles. So while we did see 40% in 2016, if you're taking into account this downside wick, it's very unlikely that we're going to see a 40% pullback in this cycle. We've seen 18% already occur, which is very similar to the 18% or 20% we saw in 2020, and 29% is what occurred in 2016. That's the deepest we'd go in this cycle. I still think that's really low probability, especially since we've seen 20% pullbacks in each of these reaccumulation phases. So 18% right now, if that's not the bottom, we'd see a bottom around 20% or 22%, so it wouldn't go much lower than this. So generally I think this could be a good range for the reaccumulation range low, getting us into this transition for the reaccumulation and sideways movement that we're going to probably see for the coming weeks in Bitcoin's price action. So 40% is out of the question, 29% is if we really get lucky, and 20%, 18%, 19%, something we've seen in 2020, that's something we're already getting, and it is likely that we're going to be around these regions. Whether it's a little bit extra downside, it doesn't really change much in terms of the macro predicament, which is what we're trying to establish here, this reaccumulation range that we've seen throughout the cycle, but also we tend to see around the halving event as well. So with 14 days going into the halving, just over 14 days really, that is a danger zone for pre-halving retraces to occur. 14 days before the halving is where the 2020 pre-halving retrace began, and in 2016 this was actually 28 days before the halving where the pre-halving retrace began as well. So this pre-halving retrace began around 30 days before the halving, and so we are in the thick of the danger zone. But this danger zone has come to fruition in the sense that it did predict this pullback of 18%. However, because we're still in the danger zone, anything can still go. This is still volatility that's supposed to get us closer to establishing a reaccumulation range at these highs. So any volatility around this danger zone is still all within historical norms. But this is all about that reaccumulation range. And what is this reaccumulation range really all about? Because this reaccumulation range is forming around the old all-time high region, and historically we tend to see lots of downside volatility and upside volatility around the old all-time high regions. Sometimes this volatility, like we see in 2017, that really can get out of hand. And in 2013, we just saw that volatility not really transpire. We just saw price acceleration towards the upside. So what we're getting is a combination more or less of 2017 and 2020 and 2021, and we're going to be seeing reaccumulation around this old all-time high region. And so that does play into what we're seeing right now in the cycle in terms of the halving being a key reference point in the formulation of this reaccumulation range. We tend to see reaccumulation ranges develop around the halving event. We're seeing that now. We're seeing that in 2020, and we saw that also in 2016. And the fact that this is also happening around old all-time high regions, it just adds more confluence that this is simply a little bump in the road, sideways price action, before we really begin our acceleration into price discovery. So really these are the times and the moments that are trying. Of course, emotionally it can be quite difficult to have to witness and experience the upside and downside volatility of your portfolio going just mad from all these price swings, but this is a structure that's really going to enable the next impulse wave in the next few weeks or even several weeks. It doesn't necessarily matter in trying to nailing exactly how long it will take, but looking at history, it does take a little while, a few weeks, where we do see lots of volatility, and we're currently in that moment right now. And it's only been, if we look at this for instance, it's only been a few weeks, 3-4 weeks, whereas this consolidation in 2020 that took multiple weeks. We can even count them if you really wanted to, but it does take a long time. And I know from memory that we tend to see 8 weeks before the halving where Bitcoin topped to begin its pre-halving retrace in 2016, and 8 weeks after it is where we bottomed out. So this whole period, this period of pre-halving retrace beginning to ending and bottoming took 16 weeks in total. And after the halving, we just saw a breakout from the reaccumulation range closer to the tail end of 2016, whereas the halving was mid 2016. So it does take a little while for that reaccumulation to end. Bitcoin was trying to fool us into this reaccumulation ending much sooner than historically is the norm, but we've actually just seen that maybe Bitcoin isn't quite ready to do that. In future videos, I'm going to be talking about the accelerated cycle and how we're actually mean reverting with this reaccumulation range, how we're actually slowing down and trying to get back to historical tendencies. And this accelerated cycle on the surface is slowing down and mean reverting and getting us closer to that norm that we've seen in the past. So this reaccumulation range could still take a little bit of a while, but nonetheless, we have to remember that these are the two bargain buying phases. The pre-halving retrace is the last bargain buying opportunity in the pre-halving period, and reaccumulation, that's in progress, but still lays ahead. Really important to capitalize on this period in the market, because all of this is gearing us up and preparing us for the final phase in the cycle, and that's the parabolic phase of the cycle. So let's prepare and let's be vigilant, because this really is bargain buying opportunity and territory for Bitcoin. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed this video, and check out the top right hand corner for more videos going forward. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.